So Rob, first question, do you identify as busy?
Even if I didn't want to identify as busy, I naturally end up being busy.
If I did a survey of 100 people and asked them about any of you that weren't in the fitness industry, I probably would get 99 people saying, who is any of you?
So now everything's, look at my high protein brownie. Look at my high protein chicken burrito, whatever the fuck recipe. And look at the macros and it's just 30 grams of protein. That's just average protein.
You wouldn't start learning guitar on the stage at Glastonbury, right? You'd start like learning a chord in your bedroom.
The boomer had a very, very different experience in their 20s, 30s and 40s than Generation Z's going to have now. Completely fucking different, obviously. In a scary way.
I think in the 30s, people go, oh my God, I'm a bit broke and I shouldn't be at 30. And they start working on the business, which means something has to give. It's like, okay, and people get married and like that womanizing or man-eating, I suppose is the equivalent term, isn't the desire isn't there. So Rob, first question, do you identify as busy?
Even if I didn't want to identify as busy, I naturally end up being busy.
Do you identify as a professional?
Not in the slightest. I'm a complete unprofessional.
So you are now not the ideal market for 90% of the fitness industry.
Sadly, fitness industry and business coaching industry, I'm not in your niche. No point targeting me with those adverts where you're all copying each other.
What do you think of like not necessarily where they should be, but what do you think of the current sort of like state of fitness niches?
Brutally honest, terrible. I think a large percentage of the industry is not sure of who they're actually serving, why they want to serve the people they say they're serving, or necessarily how to speak to them. And that's not me saying that every PT out there is terrible and I'm trying to put myself up here or anything like that. I think there's a lot of struggling PTs who have the power to help people. They just don't understand how to talk to that person they want to help because they're getting so caught up in, you should be targeting busy professionals, whatever the hell that actually means, because they'll be the people with money, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, and also, the biggest thing I always say about busy professionals, like, this is the thing I have to interject here, is like, who doesn't think they're busy? And I agree. Here's my thing here, is this, especially for most fitness professionals, ask yourself, are you busy? You're probably going to say yes, and I'm going to call bullshit because we aren't. We're just scattered, myself included. Right? This is not me just calling it
out. Everyone's just got poor time management, poor structure, and no planning.
I've met.
That's why we're busy.
We worked at UP, right? We've met some of the busiest, like literally the busiest, but also literally the most successful people. They also have the most scattered diaries. They're not super organized with them. And the other thing, like, when you say I work with professionals, do you just mean I work with everyone that's not homeless?
It's such like, what does that even mean? Professional.
Anyone has a job, right?
Like what does that mean? Is that someone in a job? Is that a business owner? Is that a large business owner, a small business owner? Is that a CEO? Is that a mid-level management person? Is it a freelancer? Is it, because all those different things that could come under professional are all people that need a very, very different message and a different method as well. So again, like, what does busy professional mean?
That's the thing, right? There's layers to this, right? There's they all deserve a different method on the back end, which I suppose we'll get to later on. But I think I want to come back to that point you said earlier on about messaging, because like. I think that people have this. They've labelled this niche, and I have a very different belief, which I'll again go into later, what a niche actually should be. But like, people like don't have no idea how to speak to them. Or for example, I know someone who recently, quite a popular guy, who says how I've managed to stay in shape for 20 years, right? And do you know what? That's a feat, right? 20, nice. 40. Men's health at 20, 40. But I'm like, you've genetically been lean all your life. Now. There is hard work, there is discipline, but there's a lot. We've done a nature versus nurture episode, right? There's a lot of things that led into a 20-year-old version of this men's health cover model. Most people probably know what I'm talking about, right? And the person you're speaking to, this person, like, niche is CEOs. And like, you've been a PT, well, you were a plumber, then a PT. So you've been in active jobs all your life. You're not. It's not the same. Your advice is not necessarily the same. The other thing I often see is like people almost still trying to talk to other fitness professionals. They understand. They've done the first step. They understand necessarily the problems, right or wrong, the coach or the client has. But this, and I sometimes fall into this on a different level. They become the nagging teacher. Like, you notice how many people like mock the fitness industry in their posts. Like, you don't have to weigh all your food, or you don't have to get in an ice bath, or all these industry terms that they think their client might struggle with, and maybe they do. But most of the clients don't even know these things exist because they're fitness industry bubble terms. They're not in the shoes of that client and going, well, what did they see on Instagram? They see things that are on This Morning. They see things that are in the newspaper. If anyone watches the newspaper, whatever news app they're watching, they're not watching 20 business coaches talk about morning routines. Go ahead.
I lost you just at the end there.
Yeah, but I say they're not listening to 20 coaches talking about morning routines.
No, I signed up to, when I was doing copywriting for people, I signed up to Google Alerts, and this is a daily email, and anyone can do this. And if it interests you, it's dead easy if I can do. Google Alerts. So I get an email every single day, and are based on the top articles for certain keywords. So let's say fat loss, for example. It's going to send me an email every single morning with the biggest either news articles or opinion articles or just whatever the hell's out on the internet to do with those keywords. And those articles are never anything remotely close to what's trending or what people are talking about on Instagram, TikTok, etc. Because what's trending on Instagram, TikTok, etc. is what the PTs are putting out there that other PTs copy and other people argue against, and that builds the algorithm up. What people are actually looking at and reading are these articles that are trending on the actual internet, not on social media platforms. And most of the time, it's basic fucking shit. It's basic information and slightly misleading information. You know, the number of times Gwyneth Paltrow's come up in there is just fucking shocking. But that's what people are reading about. So rather than you trying to discredit Eddie Abu, or you trying to talk too much about moment arms to someone who's not even got the confidence to set foot in the gym yet, why don't you look a little bit deeper? It doesn't mean I'm saying, right, just start doing reaction videos to Gwyneth Paltrow. Let's not go down that route. Unless, it's some of her earlier scenes in the 90s, then we could do those. But let's not just instantly go, okay, right, I'm signing up to Google Alerts and whatever comes up top, that's going to be my reaction video.
Yeah.
Now, this is giving you an education of what people are actually looking at, what people are actually reading, and how those people are being spoke to, because those articles, those newspapers, those media companies know how to speak to that demographic and that psychographic.
Yeah.
And you're not getting that from your average business coach, free PDF, whatever the hell,
Eddie Abu's a great example of this, right? And don't get me wrong, I have had my mother-in-law ask me about Eddie Abu. But she's not the only person I speak to out of this industry, right? No one has mentioned this person. If I did a survey of 100 people and asked them about Eddie Abu that weren't in the fitness industry, I probably would get 99 people saying, who is Eddie Abu? Yet we react to them like reactions are funny when they're things that we can relate to. Like people like Gogglebox, right? Which is essentially, I think, the birth of the reaction sort of genre, really, right?
Yeah.
But
massive, yeah.
If Gogglebox was if Gogglebox was reacting to like private home video, it wouldn't get as much. It's us reacting to, I've watched that show. I want to see what Gogglebox say about that show. I also don't like Boris Johnson. Let me talk about why they think Boris Johnson's a prick.
Yeah.
So reaction, if you like, I have a love-hate thing with reaction videos. I think we're way too negative and tribal, but that's another topic for another day. But if you want to do it because it does get reach, cool, do it. But maybe like, what is it that you react to that actually people care about? Like if a PT is on This Morning, react to that. If they talk about fitness on Gogglebox, react to that, right? Rather than reacting to someone your audience doesn't know anything about. And the only people that are reacting to that Eddie Abu video is other personal trainers who are doing Eddie Abu videos.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be funny if, like, one day you turn up at your mother-in-law's house for Sunday dinner, crack out a protein bar, and she goes, "This is shit."
Oh, she does.
But
She's been doing that. But she did that
people
before
buy
any of
into it
you was
already,
a
right?
thing.
Mm. Mate, it's funny when the first time I saw an Eddie Abu vid, I instantly knew from reading old school Flex magazines. I was like, "Hang on, he was like a British champion or something like that?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, wow, okay, he's doing stuff. Why wouldn't he jump on the social media bandwagon?" And then, what the hell happens? Geezer's popularity has exploded. He's probably making a ton of money.
Yeah.
Probably got way more clients than the average online PT or
100%.
the online P2 who's criticizing him. But again, if you were to go back to, let's go back 15, 20 years. Let's find the people who were like gym managers at that point in time, who were into bodybuilding, who looked after themselves, weren't necessarily giant megaroid heads or anything like that. And they're probably in their 50s, 60s now, not giving a fuck about Instagram or TikTok or even social media to begin with. They may have a very unkept Facebook page or something like that. But if you were to go to them and go, "Do you know who Eddie Abu is?" They'd remember from that era. And that's about it. And if you were, well, he's super viral on TikTok now because he's telling people to eat eggs and not protein bars. They'll probably nod their head and go, "Good for him."
Yeah, that's the thing. I know that's
Because
a
it's
different
so
topic,
simple.
right? But I bet Eddie Abu, I bet, and he doesn't because his reach is on people reacting to him and like being controversial.
Yeah, of course.
But I reckon if we looked at the client roster of Eddie Abu and we looked at the client roster of 90% of the people reacting to Eddie Abu, I bet he has more results. I bet he has more results because he's telling people to eat good, clean, nutrient-dense, and voluminous food, which means that people eat less calories while you're trying to make a high-protein, low-carb snickerdoodle that takes 40 minutes a day to make. Well, I hate it. I hate it now. And people like jump on the screen with a chopping board of like protein brownies.
So stupid. I'll be honest, I think it's a little bit lazy.
I can't do it.
Shit, keep losing now.
I've got you back. It's fine. We're all good.
We're back.
You're back. But I said like, the thing I can't stand these days is such a trend now. Like, and it's with a certain social media course. People jumping onto screen with chopping boards with high protein brownies. Like that's their hook, and I'm like, oh, another one of them.
It's so fucking lazy, and I nearly did a post on this the other day, but I can't be asked. I can't be fucking asked of it, right? But they've now become the very thing they were rampaging against just a couple of years ago. So now everything's look at my high protein brownie, look at my high protein chicken burrito, whatever the fuck recipe. And you look at the macros, and it's just 30 grams of protein. That's just average protein. It's not fucking high protein. And if you want a high protein recipe, just make double of whatever the hell you've just made. And that's pretty much it. Mate, I ate 750 grams of beef yesterday. I could not be asked to cook anything else. I had 160 grams of protein. I could easily jump online and go, look at my high protein Korean beef bowl. It's just one fucking pack of beef, bruv. That's all it was with soy sauce. But who's that going to help? Well, that might help the person who's really struggling for meal prep. Because that's me. I cannot stand cooking multiple different meals, measuring out portions. I would rather just eat on the go, right?
Bringing it back to the niche, right? Busy professionals, and you're saying you work with CEOs and corporate people, and if that's your content, they can't. They're too busy to make that high protein meal. They just want to cook a burger patty up in 10 minutes.
Exactly. You'll flip it your PDF or your video course of. Like this became bigger in the if it fits your macros era, which kind of seems to be coming around again. If you think about it, it is again. Like I don't know if you remember Dave Rule, the Anabolic Cookbook.
Oh yeah.
Fuck fantastic book. And it was the same thing. It was like each section, breakfast, snack, dinner, lunch, protein shakes. Everything had about 50 recipes in it, and I bought it because I was like, this is cool. I think I maybe made 2 protein shakes and 1 Chipotle chicken bowl out of it. Because you're like, I ain't got the time to try all these other different things. And what if I don't like it? And so what became easier to make a ton of that chicken Chipotle bowl and have 2 of those protein shakes. And I'm hitting my protein and I'm not hungry. And I haven't got to worry about making 20 different meals. So that person who needs, and there's multiple different niches that would need to just eat a similar thing over and over and make slightly bigger portions of it. There will also be people who need that extreme level of variety in their diet to be able to stick with it. And if you don't know the difference between those people, you're never going to reach them. and that one video you're putting out there is not necessarily going to stick with either person. Okay, you might get a few likes, you might get a few follows out of it, but it all comes down to like, are you targeting your niche correctly? If you are, you're getting sales. Really, that's the thing. If you're getting lots and lots of likes and follows, you're becoming popular and you're putting popular,
I think it's
good
part of it.
information potentially out there.
I think it's
But
part
if you're
of it.
really trying to serve your niche, and I mean, yeah, pricing and everything else, and do people even need that coach at that moment in time? A lot of stuff comes into it, of course.
But I think that's the thing. The reason why I say it's part of it is because I think that what I think a lot of people do is that niche stops at this point of sale. Right? So you'll see people that will let me just stop my camera following me. But like niche stops at the point of sale, right? So they go niche, hammer, right, we'll buy. And then what happens on the back end is that like you either give them that, like this busy professional, let me solve your busy problems, and then here's your 3-hour workout, right? Here's your recipe guide and a set of macros. Just go. And I'm like, well, who has time to do that? Like you've asked people. There's a video I've got coming out at some point from my seminar. I've got people like going, like, stand up if you have the term busy professional, or I help X do Y without giving up any of the foods they love. Stay standing. And what you see with those things, a lot of people have like they have to go, oh, you don't have to give up any foods. And then they're the people that come to people like me and go, why are my clients not adhering to my meal plan? And I'm like, well, because you deliberately ask people that don't want to adhere to stuff. You've asked for those clients. So either have a solution to help those clients, or don't ask for them in the first place, right? Callum Raystrick probably doesn't get as many. He'll get a bit, obviously, people are human, but he won't get as much client adherence issues because he's asked for bodybuilders who want to get on stage, right?
Yeah.
Like someone like Joe Dunworth, who's a great example, is asking people to fail with Slimming World, right? Want new approaches. And right, they might be those unadherent clients, but you know what Joe does? He's created a product that actually caters to the people that need that small, steady, step-by-step approach.
Yeah.
Most coaches are saying they want a transformation business and are marketing themselves like a lifestyle business. There's a disconnect between product and marketing.
And the client themselves don't know what they need. If they did, they'd be doing it and they'd be in phenomenal shape. So they might be coming to you because you've ticked that trigger button inside them that says, okay, this is the one. You've just said exactly that. Here's how to get beach ready without giving up any of the food you love, but still enjoying alcohol on the weekends. When that person has been doing that for the last 20 years on and off, and it's not going to work for them, they need a more stricter approach. Or that person has such a history of jumping from one thing to the next, non-adherence, crash dieting, putting it all back on again. They need a slow, and I'm just paraphrasing here across multiple broad niches, but maybe they need that slower, steady approach. They don't realize it yet. But the problem is, if you don't realize it either, you're just going to get tons of people in your program that aren't going to stick to it. And you're not going to get 100% success rate. I don't think that exists.
No.
Really. So don't panic when you see other coaches going 100% success rate. Bullshit. But you'll never have a 100% success rate in anything. But if you don't have the adaptability, not the flexibility, but the adaptability for multiple different types of clients, then everyone you get into your one size fits all thing is going to backfire on the majority, without a doubt.
Yes.
And that's why continued education is so important beyond fucking business coaching, because otherwise that's not going to fix the issue. You're going to nail your marketing in terms of bringing people in, but they're still the wrong people.
And you're getting more buyers than remorse.
Yeah, and then you're going to be looking for that business coach whose niche is, do your clients keep dropping out? Well, here's how you keep them. But again, it's just business tips. Again, if you knew how to, I don't know, if your program is a super quick, aggressive crash diet type thing, more power to you. If that's working for people and you're getting those people in, then continue to do so, because that works for some people. But if you're the type that is drawing in people that need that slower, steady approach without, complete flexibility over their diet. They need to be educated. They need to learn. They need to build healthy habits around food rather than unhealthy habits of trying to cling on to the food that they're emotionally attached to.
Exactly. And that you said earlier on about the clients don't know what they need. And it's like, yes, we'd all like in an ideal world to get eat Domino's pizza every day and get shredded. We'd all like to be able to stay in bed and make £1 million on my laptop. But the reality of those things are very different. And we have a lot of coaches that have never done that themselves. The amount of coaches that have never done a photo shoot saying, I need help guiding my clients to a photo shoot. And I'm not saying you can't decide when your client tells you they want to do a photo shoot. And I'm not saying you should pawn them off and lose every single client that asks but I'm saying, like, if you get people asking you this, maybe I should start doing one. Like, that will help me. So let me take, I can help people get to stage, but I'm not a bodybuilding prep coach because I've never been to stage. So if I wanted to be, I'd probably think first, rather than going, well, how do I market to these people? I'd probably get on stage and talk about my journey to stage and start to have some of it of this. And so, like, I think tracking food is the only skill in the world that people assume you don't need to learn it step by step. Right? I always use the language analogy. You wouldn't just jump into Spain and just hope to speak Spanish. You wouldn't you wouldn't start learning guitar on the stage at Glastonbury. Right? You'd start learning a chord in your bedroom. You know, probably in your underpants. You know, it would start really modestly. Yet, that people will bash me up fans, and and again, it's not knowing their niche. It's saying oh well, we work at business professionals. Here's your macro numbers. I'm like, you have a disconnect on who you're saying you want to help and the problem. The other one is people saying it's the sustainability line because they're too scared to push anybody. That they haven't looked at a morsel of research around long-term weight loss because generally, and again, I'm always take research with a pinch of salt because we fall on a bell curve and your client can fall out. Some people, the best long-term approach for them is starting with just have a fish oil this week, just change your breakfast next week. But for the majority of people, a buy-in and a big weight loss initially allows them to trust you and will lead to longer-term weight loss success. Yet people who bang on about we help people create sustainable long-term solutions never, ever do that. It's what they're rallying against. So their marketing is rallying against the thing that is they are telling people they help them do. It boggles my mind that I see it more and more. I've said this before. I never set out SMU to be a niche building company, but it's become a niche building company because I speak to coaches all the time that have this great niche on Instagram. I look at the product and at what point does this person can do this plan? And I don't want to come off on a high horse here because I also think what you do well and what your niche is has to be a little bit different. For sake of argument, right?
Yeah.
I think there was an advantage for online coaches who have come from other industries. The disadvantage is it might mean they're not quite as good a coach because they've spent 10 years in accounting or law. But the advantage from an Instagram perspective is those people can talk to accountants' problems and pain points far, far more.
Hell yes.
So when we worked at the place where we were given accountants, lawyers, CEOs, things like this, right? You can give me any one of them and I can get them in shape.
Yeah.
However, when I went to Instagram, I couldn't get leads in because I've got some, but I only know personal training. I went from university to PT to what I do now. If you call me an educator or mentor, or whatever. So I can speak to a personal trainer. I know the pain points. I know the struggles. I know what the sleepless nights are, what you're worrying about. I don't know that with an account. So I think there's that element as well with niche is almost somewhat disconnecting from what you've done and go, who do I know? One, who do I know how to talk to? That's part of it. And then how do I know how to help them? Which means modifying your approach and maybe taking your ego out the equation of, I prefer if it fits your macros. I prefer push-pull legs. I prefer zone 2 cardio. And go, well, what can my demographic actually do?
a couple of things I want to say there. They're you're quite right. When I was teaching the PT qualification, you'd have all sorts on there. It wasn't all just young, fit guys and girls that were told they're good at training, they should be a PT, but it was a heavy percentage of that as well. You'd have all sorts, and I always remember this one guy who was in his late 50s, in like hiking type fitness condition physique, like skinny, but there was fitness there, right? It wasn't muscle mass or anything like that. And there was a couple of moments where he was only doing this for fun. He was like, I'm in my 50s, don't really give a fuck anymore. I've retired, I've got decent amounts of money. I'm just here to learn some stuff, but I'm also, you never know, this might be a new route that I go down. Fantastic. And there were moments where he's looking at the young guys on the course going, like, if I did go work in the gym, what hope have I got against these guys? Like, who's going to look at me? And I sat him down and said, you are in your 50s, you mountain climb, you just are here for a bit of fun, you enjoy exercise, you want to learn a little bit more about it. Do you realize how many people in this gym in front of us right now are looking for someone, are thinking that exact thing? They enjoy their exercise, they wouldn't mind learning a little bit more about it. They're not concerned about matey over there with a six-pack who's doing dragon flags. They don't care about that. They're looking at that guy going, what a show off. They don't care. Mm. So you have got the opportunity to strike up a conversation which that young kid's going to be too scared to do, hence why he's doing dragon flags, because he wants people to come to him. You're going to have a much better chance of connecting with people like you. I said to him, you're going to do phenomenally well with mums in their 30s and 40s. And he did exactly fucking that.
Yeah.
Nailed it. I love it. And the geezer's still in the fucking industry.
Good.
I love it.
I also think on that point, as well, that, you know, like, it's about owning it. Like, at no point am I saying here that you should all change your market to be able to push people harder and get people shredded. And because I gave that example of Joe Dunworth, and shout out to Joe because he's amazing. But like, if you own the product you have, so if you help people lose the first 5 pounds, and you own it, and you're good at it. Another shout out here, because we do this a lot. Tobias Young, who owns what was Tobias Lifestyle, I think is now 360 Coaching. I've referenced him a lot. I should probably remember what his business name is now. But he's a habit-based coach. He's the Slum and Stay habit-based coach. And he gets good results. They're not, but they're not DSL, not inside out, but that's not what he's wanting. And he's very good at what he does. In the same way that Callum Raystrick is really good at getting bodybuilders in shape. If you just want to make sure that whatever you're marketing, whatever you're selling to clients, whatever the work you're expecting of clients, it's the thing that's going to get the result your business wants to be known for. Because I see a lot of people get caught up in the Instagram world and the business coach world of this gets reach. And it's like, let me see how I can fit this, Y, and Z into my macros. And they're like, why are my clients binging on the diet at night? As well, because you've given them 2,500 calories, because one, anything under 3,000 is going to make the thyroid evaporate. And two, because that's what everyone that's scared of dieting tells you on Instagram. And then two, like that 2,500 calories is the size of a little biscuit.
Yeah.
And like don't before you belittle Eddie Abu for like good voluminous food, start going, oh God, can I put my ego aside here and go, right, let's actually like take my bias out and go, what do my clients need? Because it's often different than what you need, having done this for the rest of your life, or as a 22-year-old metabolically healthy PT that's never had the chance to get an autoimmune condition or got overweight or had a sedentary job. It's different. Which will bring me on to a point later on, but I want to end with what I think these should be.
I'll quickly interject there, which matches up nicely with the other bit I was going to say, is that people won't take that ego hit. People would rather try and invest into a business coach for quick wins where they're getting very, very generic information across a wide range of personal trainers, rather than taking a step back, maybe spending 2 to 3 years in a gym, learning about people, learning about actual face-to-face conversation, learning about demographics, psychographics, like actually having conversations with people, because that's way more powerful than what any business coaches ever can teach you. But instead, they seem to see what other people are doing online and do more of that, whether that is reaction videos to Eddie Abu, or last year, and this really started doing my fucking nut, is trainers, first off, legitimately, trainers who got either thick skin lean or just very, very shredded, 10 to 12%. And their videos are, I wasn't happy when I was shredded. I got this, look how lean I got. I wasn't happy with myself. I was hungry all the time, energy, like I felt like shit all the fucking time. And so now they're probably sitting 15, maybe 17% tops, and they're eating what they want. But again, let's look a little bit deeper. They're super active. They live in the gym. They've got their diet sorted, all the things that help them maintain that 15, 17 all year round. They feel better because why wouldn't you feel better? You've got more energy in you than you had at 10 to 12%. But other guys then started seeing this, guys who have never been lean, certainly not thick skin lean. And their videos are, I got skinny. I wasn't really happy when I was down here. And then you're kind of allowing people to live it. It's the only phrase I can think of. You're allowing people to kind of live in mediocrity a little bit. You'll lose the 3 kilos. Fantastic. You lost 3 kilos and then you're done. There's no more to go.
100.
And that person needs to be below 20% for better hormonal health. That lady needs to sort out her dietary patterns and quit the junk or the alcohol or whatever it is. And we're just going, I felt terrible when I was here, so don't get here. It's like they're scared of getting lean themselves.
They're also scared to keep people accountable because it's easier to say it's not worth it than to have the conversation to hold someone to a higher standard. Because that's tough. Because guess what? You hold someone to a higher standard, there's a fight or flight response that client has, right? So you're either going to get a difficult conversation, you get the client shy away from it, you're going to have to tell them multiple times. But guess what? That's coaching. And if you didn't sign up for having the odd difficult conversation, I think we said this last week, right? Like, you're in the wrong industry. You know, people that talk about firing their clients just because they weren't adherent, you're probably in the wrong industry, right? Yeah. People who don't want to learn because there's a lot of shit to learn, right? That bookcase is not full. There's 2 in my bag. There's some down here, and I've got a bunch of courses on the whole thing on my Stream Deck, right? You're probably in the wrong industry. If you don't want to have conversation with people, you're probably in the wrong industry. If you don't want to write training program, you're probably in the wrong industry, right? Like, it's like I'm a big fan of systemizing your weaknesses to spend more time on your strengths. But there's a very key line here between you can't systemize things at your job and having difficult conversations with people. Sometimes it has to be your job. Yeah, you've got to approach them. And I think there's. We said this before we came on air, right? This is the only industry where people will sell products who don't know what it is. Like we talked about the rise of people selling year-long packages. And I reckon a lot of people that are selling year-long packages, I asked them, run me through your year-long package. And they have no idea. I know a lot of people that want about sustainable approach. We'll teach you to stay in shape for life and make it sustainable. Cool. How do you reverse diet people? Deer in headlights. Right? Right? How do you build someone to a surplus? How do you put on tissue? Because a long-term personal training plan will probably need some long-level training plan. What does month 11 look like in your training program? Not your lifestyle program. Not we're still doing the ice baths. In your training program. If you can't answer those questions, don't sell a year-long product. Right? People are. There's nothing wrong with selling a 3-month product and then learning as you go as people go into month 4, 5, and 6, and then you get people that stay for a year because you're good, and then you go, we'll put a year offer out there then. Yeah, that's fine. But if you're doing it because businessmen have told you I must sell a year, I'm like, ask yourself the question: can I confidently deliver for a year now? Yeah. Most people can't. And this is where, again, disconnect between marketing, product, right? If you don't sell, if you can't, and I tell you what, I wonder how many people sell a year on sales calls because they don't have conviction in it. Right? If you know you can help someone for a year, you like take or leave it, mate. You're dumb if you don't take it, kind of attitude. You know? I find it mad. What do you think? What do you think people are missing out on in terms of a good niche? Like, what we've talked about what people shouldn't be doing. Like, what should people be doing?
What should people be doing? First off, remembering why you got into this industry. And if it is to genuinely help people, then you should worry less about what other PTs think. You should worry less about a photographic result of whatever shape or form. So I'll use an example of a guy I know, great coach in his 30s, who trains what some years back Phil Learney said is the least is the demographic that is getting the least amount of help from the fitness industry, who probably need it the most. People in their 60s and their 70s. Now, you might say, what does a 30-year-old know about being in their 60s and 70s? Probably not a lot. But if he's done the education and had enough conversations, he can speak to people that way. He knows what they need. He's absolutely killing it. But that doesn't mean anyone listening to this should go, there we go, that's where the money is, 60s and 70s. You're just going to completely fuck up, right? So it's remembering, he's not going to get before and after photos. He's not going to get people with their PB video in the gym or something like that. For him, it's like the biggest win with these amazing WhatsApp communities that he's got, where Doris, got up the stairs fucking this week or whatever. Not that he's training just completely.
Although we have a student in our program called Sam Charlwood, who is powerlifter and sort of physio, sports rehab sort of stuff, and she works with a lot of people in the 60s, 70s because getting out of pain thing. But she's incorporated some of the diet stuff that we've included, and she's got a bunch of people losing weight. Her father has had a great before and after photo, right? And I tell you what,
love it.
We aren't fitting protein cookies into his meal plan. Like his meal plan is strict in terms of nutrition because he has a few health issues. We've worked on some issues like from that. We've ramped up omega-3 fats a lot. We've added in, but what we've done is we've done 2 shakes and 2 meals per day. Liquid meals, eh? Terrible. We can't have liquid meals. That's
disordered eating.
It's disordered eating. Yeah, like you're gonna get really, really hungry. What you should have is a small protein brownie instead, because that will fill you up. But you know what? It's simple. And I tell you what, for the busy professionals plan, I'm a huge believer in 2 shakes, 2 meals. Because it's simple. Have a shake. Why wouldn't you? You can max up. And this is what I tend to do with the busy professional type. I have a super shake sort of thing in the morning, right? With some oil added in, like essential fats.
Nice.
I'll have meal 1, which will tend to be a more of a white meat or white fish meal. With or without carbohydrates, depending on where somebody's at and depending on how much fats I want to add. It's not a case of whether I want someone low carb or low fat. It's whether I want someone high fat or high carb. That's my new way of thinking about macros. It's not the low, it's what I want the high to be, right? If someone's inflamed, massive, overweight, and a bit insulin resistant, I'll have more fats. I probably won't do carbs in the second meal. If somebody is an ultra marathon runner who's also as a bodybuilder in his spare time and he's jacked, I'll probably have lower fats and have some carbs in that meal. Then afternoon, I'll either have, I'll probably have another shake, like exactly the same as the breakfast. And then I'll have a red meat or oily fish meal with some carbohydrates and some fats. That meal being the bulk of their calories. Yes, I know the argument you can make of the bigger meal before bed that might affect digestion. True. But also, the busy professionals are probably going to go out for dinner every now and again for work and with friends and with family. So if I bulk 800-900 calories into that meal, then I don't have to worry about complicated buffering strategies as much, keeping it simple for them. So they probably will go over, but they have to go harder for it to go over because we've made that allowance. And then we run that, and then when they'll lose some weight, and they'll come to me at some point and go, Simon, I'm pretty hungry at lunchtime. Well, just take out shake 1 then. Let's put some eggs in. So you've got doing prep 2 meals. You don't have to prep 4 or 5 plus little snacks. You prep 2. Get good at that. Then we'll have a third. Talk about the real way of drip feeding. The real way of people drip feeding habits isn't add this ambiguous fish oil or have a palm protein for lunch. It's how do we create as much structure as possible with the least amount of effort? That's the way I run it. That's the way I run my diet most of the time. And it's easy.
Man, it's pretty much exactly what I'm doing at the moment as well. It's so simple. Jordan Syatt I love Jordan Syatt. Jordan Syatt's incredible. Jordan Syatt's my favourite. Explain things simply as they need to be for the majority of people to be able to understand and take action on. When he has people in his inner circle that aren't tracking calories, because he still pushes the idea of tracking calories, it is 3 I've butchered it already. It's 3 meals, 2 snacks. 3 meals, 2 snacks. And shows him how to divide the plate up. And he says, whatever goes on as long as the plate's not overflowing, you'll probably be all right. And obviously there's different options for snacks and things like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I used to listen to his podcast where it was mainly client calls. It was an excerpt from the calls in his groups. And it was a lot of people struggling with overcomplication of food choices, with boredom or emotional attachment to the calorie tracking, or too complicated for them, whatever. And he's just like, take a step back, 3 meals, 2 snacks. And you can hear the anxiety disappear on that call, because they're going back to the basics that those people need.
It's break glass.
How many people
diet.
How many people would go harder, would push harder? Or you don't want it enough. So, okay, now send me a photo of every single flipping meal, and okay, well, I want to see. Or even worst case, as I've heard a lot recently, coaches kicking people out of the program when they're not staying accountable.
Yeah.
Even though those are the people that need the most amount of fucking help. So if you're a hammer, everything's a nail, right? Yeah. And that's the problem. You need multiple tools, and every single person out there. Okay, let's not get too political, but I believe in the individual over the group. But the problem is, if you look at different groups, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, whatever what would you call the ones above Gen Z?
What, the most recent ones? Trans.
Confused.
Not enough people want to get cancelled yet.
So you got like Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, boomers. That's it, boomers.
Boomers was before, right?
Boomers, no, boomers is, yeah. So you got boomers is.
Oh, I knew that one. I thought you meant the latest one. What came after Gen X? It was like people born today.
I think there is. I think they started. So there's boomers, they're the olders. Then there's Gen X, which technically I'm in now, which is fucking terrifying. I'm in Gen X, which is good because they definitely did this. They rebranded the term millennials, because millennials I swear, when I was in my 30s, millennials was anyone in their teens, 20s. And then not so long ago, millennials became anyone born in the 80s, 90s. Oh, shit, I'm in with the millennials. Then you got the generations there before, which is your young teeny boppers. And then whatever the hell this new breed of people is, I don't know what you'd even call them. They've all got their different terms they're going to understand, their different ways of communicating in terms of both listening and giving information. They're going to have their own motivations. They're going to have their own understanding of the world around them. A boomer had a very, very different experience in their 20s, 30s, and 40s than Generation Z's going to have now. Completely fucking different, obviously, in a scary way. But then within those groups, you've then got the individual. Well, you've got demographics within those groups. You've got psychographics within those groups. This is where we get more down to the individual person. And going back to your original question of how do people find, like, instead of not just what not to do, how do people find that thing? It's look at yourself. If you've had a phenomenal result with yourself, you've probably got a greater chance of reaching out to, communicating to, and having a similar result with people like yourself. But that's not set in stone. That's not concrete. I've done the fan dance. Am I ever going to release a program teaching someone how to do the fan dance? Fuck no. Hell no. I've got photo shoot lean. I'm not really going to put everything out there on here's how you get photo shoot lean. I know a phenomenal coach who was a strongman, and he's been training guys who want to get stronger in strongman for years. He is now bored and wants to quit strongman coaching because he doesn't do it anymore. It doesn't motivate him anymore. So now it just kind of reminds him what he can't, or what he doesn't do, not what he can't do. What he doesn't do anymore.
Agreed. I can relate.
Now he has to find a new way of speaking to people, right? That'd be the same thing if you were lean all year round. If you were motivated to stay in that position, if you were Max Rogers, fantastic. You can stay lean all year round. You're motivated to do so. You're going to show those bits where you bulk up a little bit and a little bit of fat creeps on. Then you're going to show how you diet aggressively and you get super lean again. You can see the extra tissue that's come on. That's motivating a certain percentage of some of those demographics, not all of those.
But it's easy to get caught up in sometimes thinking, I know this is off the topic of niching, but it's so easy to sometimes get caught up in, if I'm not like that, do I have any right to call myself a fitness professional? I get it in the education field all the time, right? Like hypertrophy coach versus me. If you're a regular PT, who do you listen to?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to Joe Bennett. Like Joe Bennett's, I don't know if he's been in the industry longer than me, but I assume he probably is, and he knows in certain topics a lot more than me. But like from just a face value, even if I was the smartest trainer on the planet, which of course I'm not, you'd still go that way, just because I don't have that same desire to train every day
Yeah.
and be DSL most of the year like I used to be.
Yeah. So it's finding people similar to you to begin with, I think, but recognizing that not everyone wants the same end goal. Not everyone wants the same end product. The 60 to 70-year-olds probably aren't watching your Instagram. They probably don't give a fuck about shredded. The motivation to stay lean all year round, think of what that actually gives someone. That gives someone, whether it actually counts in the grand scheme of life or not, that gives someone their perceived status. Same as why everyone wants a Lambo after watching Andrew Tate get one. It's all status. The status for a 60 to 70-year-old is not the same status as a 20.
Yeah.
40 to 50,
I
very
think
different.
20s to 30s. Right?
Yeah.
Like Chris Williamson called it the menopause, right? Everyone's doing bodybuilding, they all do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because the status changes. I think in the 30s, people go, oh my God, I'm a bit broke and I shouldn't be at 30. And they start working on the business, which means something has to give. And it's like, okay, and people get married and like that womanizing or man-eating, I suppose is the equivalent term. Isn't the desire isn't there. So what? And I think it's a really good point of like it is a status game that you're looking for. People talk us like about body fat. Like I very rarely talk about see a coach talk about what body fat gives you. I've very rarely heard someone talk about the energy in board meetings or the ability for your wife to find you attractive or like being the lean one of a bunch of your mates that gets all the attention. I don't see coaches do that. And what I've seen the rise of is the opposite, right? Like, if we're saying that people want to buy body transformation products because they like the idea of feeling better than they currently do, people are motivated by pain. They're in a painful point and they want to feel better. When I look at a lot of fitness content, and it's easy to do, I'm not judging because I probably have been doing this recently with getting frustrated that people don't prioritize education. I've been telling you should be, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want the naggy parents, right? So I understand coaches how easy it's to do. I'm not judging you, but if you look at your content now, and it's like I've seen the rise of PT call out culture. Hey, it's not your thyroid why you're fat. You're eating too many calories. You are an idiot. You should be tracking better. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. It's a fair point, but people want to listen to the person telling them what the shit at all the time. No, you don't need more motivation to train. Get it fucking done. You're weak-minded. Like all these content, like it's so. If I was that client looking at this, I'm like, that person is not approachable in the slightest. And if you want to be unapproachable, right, it only works if you're jacked. Like and that's not saying that the people at Jack should do that. It's that your physique needs to be so good it makes up for the fact that you're an unlikable douche. And that I think a lot of coaches accidentally fall into that trap because they're annoyed that their clients aren't sticking to proms and they don't have to coach them maybe, or even that they're not getting leads in because they'd rather spend on gourmet Michelin star restaurants. Like, and it's true though, right? People say it's a bad financial market right now for personal training. Right, people are broke. Okay, try and get into Heston Blumenthal's restaurant. You'll be on a 6-month waiting list.
Of course,
people have money, right? Yeah, they're just not spending it on you.
They're just not spending it on you. Like Paul Mort talks about this all the time. It's hit and miss, but he talks about is there a cost of living crisis when most Michelin star restaurants and you can't get it. There's two I really want to go to, and there's no chance of me getting in this year. And most of them are booked up till April next year, the year after as well. It's crazy. But yes, that doesn't mean everyone's super loaded and they can all afford Michelin star restaurants. It's people are now in a cost of living crisis. People are going to put their money where they value it the most. What's most important for them. So at the same time, certain things are rising. The cost of your house, your bills, etc. So they're going to put the money where they want to put it the most. And if you are coming across as, you might not even realize that you're coming across as this aggressive douche to the niche that you think that you're helping the most. And as a quick example, there's at my local gym, I don't think he's there anymore. I haven't seen him for a long time. There's a bodybuilder, phenomenal physique on him. I'm extremely jealous of it. He's won competitions, all sorts. funny enough, is coached by Callum as well, or was coached by Callum. His videos always came across very, very aggressively. Uses terms like in the trenches. All his videos, it's hardcore aggressive training. It's you've got to squeeze the juice out of every last fucking rep, and if you don't want it enough. You've got to get your shit together. It's stuff I had to unfollow because I'm like, he's just ruining my day. But another friend of mine at the gym who also were in phenomenal shape, is not going to compete, doesn't care about that sort of thing. But he wants to put on size, wants to get bigger, wants to cut properly, etc. And he was looking at getting into coaching as well. And a very phenomenal coach there, a very reputable coach there. They were having a conversation, and he said to him, like, I want to help people, I want to get my message across, but I don't want to do it like that guy, where I just feel like I'm being told off. Whereas that guy who's doing the videos is talking directly to guys like that. Like that's it. That's his target market of the guys who are got a bit of size on and want to get bigger, want to learn how to cut, probably want to compete later down the line. And this guy, as I heard it say, is putting that exact market off. So who's he going to end up attracting? He's going to end up only attracting people with that aggressive mindset, probably a little bit douchey, to other people as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So you have to be so careful with this call-out marketing, this aggressive marketing. Look at other industries. Look at other advertising campaigns you see. How often do you see aggressive? And how often do you see aggressive work? I rarely see aggressive marketing in other industries.
If you look at Fire Festival, I mean, this was a massive flail, right? But Fire Festival sold on a product they didn't have, which again, note what we were saying earlier on. This is this. Oh my god, that's content, right? Remember that when we stop recording. Like most coaches selling year-long programs are like Fire Festival.
Yeah.
That's real. But anyway, so like,
there you go.
if you look at it, what did they sell? They didn't sell like, hey, you say you like music, but you're not willing to come to an island? You're an idiot. It's, hey, look at these huts on this beautiful island with all these women around, these amazing bands and this great time. And that, I want that. Why do I sign up to a mentorship? I want the community. I envision myself being the smarter coach. That's a status game. We can say it's to help people, and it is. And I want to give back to my students. Yeah. But why did I start the business? Like everyone has a bit of selfishness in them. So like, I don't see enough of. And then again, and as I said, it's so easy. Like I've started this with I've been doing it. So it's like you just every now and again look back and going, have you let your own frustration about the lows of your business seep into your content? And if you have, this is your cue to pull back a bit and to be a bit softer. And I think like if there's something that I would love to like coaches to understand about a niche, this is the thing I think this is my only real bit of advice for people on the Instagram front from a niche, is that realizing that you're not a special snowflake, right? There is going to be another people that help men or women 30 to 40 who like chips get in shape without giving up chips or whatever your tagline is, right? Even if it's the best niche in the world, there's going to be about 100,000 other people doing exactly the same thing. If you look at the education space right now, right? If you let's look at something like we've got ICM and the Callum Rastrick boys doing stuff. We've got Akash Vakela's alluded to something. We've got Hims and Lee doing something. We've got M10 boys doing something. We've got Paul Standel and James Sutton doing stuff. We've obviously got Michael Goulden doing stuff. Jake Carton, Health doing stuff, right? All of these people will teach you variations of similar things, right? And I'm biased. I think mine's probably the most all-encompassing. But like, let's put aside quality and product for a second. The reason why someone will sign up with Paul and not me has nothing to do with knowledge, right? What it is they might like Paul's sense of humor. They might like the fact he had a performing arts background. They might like his nerdiness around physics and Meccano and toys. People might like me because I like James Bond and I like pro wrestling and I like rugby, right? And I'm unapologetically myself and I'll wear a t-shirt that says "Get the fuck out," right? Like, I don't think a lot of coaches think of their niche being them. Like, be more of you on this line. Like Andy Hillocks It's a great example of this content guy, and he puts some stuff about camera gear up and like stuff that helps, but he also puts like about his running and his burnout history, and like the reason why people buy is because they connect with you as a human. There are people that think I'm a dick and will never buy from me, but there are people that also like me, and I think coaches don't do this enough, and I don't think it's enough to post every now and again, just post a photo. Hey, do you remember my wedding day? That happened. Well, I remember I was on stage like a while back. Like, and I'm not saying this post are bad, but it's like, how does that seep into your marketing? Like, your stories are like the peek behind the curtain. Well, let the peek behind the curtain going, this is what I liked about WrestleMania. Some people don't care, but the people that do, I have students that talk wrestling, like send me wrestling memes, right?
Yeah.
So I think if there's a lesson here, what you should do as a niche, you realize it's less about your demographic and more about you. What separates you from other coaches is you. So rather than going, I need to speak exactly to guys who are accountants who struggle to manage their food, it's like, I don't even need a niche. I just need to be unapologetically myself, and that becomes a niche. I know people that have great niches that never, like, they work with guys, they work with girls, they work with accountants, they work with lawyers, they work with other trainers. Their niche is brilliant. Why? Because it's them. Their niche are people that are like them. Doesn't have to be the same thing. There are a lot of people that are like me that work in accounting. Now, I wouldn't work with them because I am a program for coaches, but like if you're a coach, it doesn't necessarily need to be. It's just like anybody who has the same interest as you that's got a bit of body fat. That's more of your niche.
Exactly. And that's the problem. I had this conversation with Paul not so long ago about a few coaches that are in the program that they almost don't seem to know who they are. They're young, they're jumping from one thing to the next. Their videos are very, very much derivative of other people's content, whether that's Paul's content or what's going viral and trending, whatever. And I think that becomes not just that they're trying to jump on the bandwagon, they don't know what else to say, because whether that's not enough life experience, and I'm not just saying it from an age perspective, there's people in their 30s and 40s that haven't had life experience as well. Doesn't just mean you just aggressively market your personal life either, because then it just becomes about you. It has to be linked to how you can help people as well. You've used Bond as an example. You've used Bond as analogies in certain marketing campaigns as well. You've used wrestling in analogies in certain campaigns. The fact that has the opportunity to catch the attention of someone who's into that needs your help is so much huger than you just talking about the education.
It can be subtle, like that. Right? So right there, up the top of this, you can't quite see it on this shot, but you can see it sometimes when I have to record content, is a action figure of Drew McIntyre, Scottish wrestler. We also have a Stewart's Cream of the Barley bottle of whiskey. That is a bottle of whiskey that my granddad was on the board of the company for. So, that resonates with me. We obviously got anatomy stuff that I'm a nerd here, along with my book. So that's part of my life that I'm a nerd. Under that, I have picture of my wife and things she got me on our wedding day, because Ellie is a huge part of my life. Under that, there is a bunch of playing cards because I'm into Magic. And then under that is training gear, like daisy chains and things like this, right? That is the stuff that you see in the backdrop of every content. I'm going to get a SMU World Championship belt made for the people who get the most transformations within a year in SMU, right? That's a subtle. So it's not subtle, but it's subtle in the sense of I'm not going, let me just do a breakdown video of WrestleMania. Like, no. But it's taking my interest and making making my program have a personality. It's not calories, it's not macros, it's not training plans. You're like if you look at some of the brands that I think do really, really, really well, it's brands that have their personality runs through it. I think Batless Fastlane does that. I think Batless Fastlane is very unapologetically Rob. I think Biceps and Banter Boys, really good. Paul Moore,
huge.
Really good. Ollie Carson, Supercharged, right? He gets a lot of military people. When's the last time you heard him mention the military in his content? Yet a lot of military people come into there. So yes, there's maybe some connections behind the scenes there, but I also think just like he gives off that ethos, right? He puts his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu up, he puts his family up, puts his kids up, right? the people that I keep coming back to in their content are the people where I feel like I'm talking to a human. I want and it's the same with my YouTube, wrestling YouTube, same thing with my Instagram scrolls. The people I go on their page and scroll down, there are people that I've never spoken to that I felt like I've had a conversation with. Like I shared a few voice notes the other day with Matt Peacock from the Optimized Coach. I felt like I knew him. I've never met the guy in my life. But I've resonated with his content and the person that he is in his content. That now means that, like, if he was to sell me something, I'm now a warmer lead, not because he's funnel and he's marketing, but he's marketing, but he's funnel and he's ads and he's lead magnets. It's because, like, I already feel like it's a mate down the pub. The same thing applies with the Wrestle Talk guys. I watched a YouTube channel called Wrestle Talk. I went to their watch-along party for the Royal Rumble. And when I got chatting to him, it's really weird because I've been following these guys for probably about 7-8 years when they started the channel. Every day I watch a video of them. So the guy who owns that company, I'm like, I feel I know him like a mate, but I have to not act like that because he doesn't know who the fuck I am, you know? And it's so but that in a sense is good marketing. I think good marketing is good personal branding. Jordan Shallow is another one. Right? Jordan Shallow will probably get people in Prescript that are like him. Slightly nerdy people who use big words, sometimes slightly overwhelming, but also has very funny analogies.
Yeah.
It's very unapologetically him. And I don't think a lot of coaches do this. And I wonder, I think there's twofold to this. I think it's because they're told what they should be doing. They feel they need to give value, give.
Exactly.
And I think the other side of this, which is probably more the depressing side of this, but again, this is not me getting on a high horse because since moving back to the UK, it's probably been me too. I've been in this office all day.
Yeah.
These people don't actually have a life. Jordan Shallow, I got on a call with Jordan actually a few years ago, and it was when I was just starting on my own. And he's like the biggest advice he gave me. He's like, I'm sorry, Jordan, I haven't really taken it. Was do something. Be a powerlifter. Be a strongman. Be a bodybuilder. Be a CrossFitter. Be something. Like again, I would shout out Matt Peacock again. He was saying like the content that's hitting with him right now is that he's gone to an Alex Hormozy live event in Vegas, and loads of content him walking down the street having an off the cuff conversation. Him in his car. Him in the airport. And it feels like you're getting a backseat window into his life. And like that content is like, he says really well because it creates a better personality. It's people are going and doing something. It's like when I look at The Rock, he's flying to here for WrestleMania. He's working out in his home gym. He's then flying over to here. He's doing this TV appearance, right? You never get The Rock come on his social media and go, let me tell you why my tequila is better than any other competitor tequilas. You never tell me why TKO is the best sports brand in the world. He doesn't do it. Doesn't need to. Because The Rock is the product.
It's funny that you said, like, being unapologetically myself, I don't know any other way. If you look at, I can't possibly not be me. I mean, whether it's the same trying to market my coaching, whether it's the same conversation with my mates, whether it's me on stage playing live, or whether it was me ending up doing the videos for UP, for the internal education.
Listen to the list you've just made there as well, right? We mentioned, like, out with your mates. You've got a social life. You've mentioned the PT and the training. You've mentioned getting on stage, like performing, right? Like, right? And this is not a bodybuilding stage here. This is rock and or
definitely
roll.
Not a bodybuilding.
Yeah, stage. Rock and or roll, right? So there's an element here of, even though you don't necessarily do something from a sporting world, you haven't taken that Jordan Shallow advice completely literally, but you do it within your life. You're doing stuff. Like for me, it's like getting out of my office and maybe like going to Southampton doing a session at Winning Health. Maybe it's going into London doing a session with Michael Goulden. Maybe it's going up and doing a podcast or training with people. Like if I traveled around the country training with different like coaches and doing different seminars, I wouldn't have to do something in my training directly to be like relatable. It would just be, I want to go into Simon's stories because I want to know what he's doing today, right? Whereas, and I'll open-heartedly right now, like my life is pretty dull. Like, okay, cool. You want to see me in my favorite coffee shop, and you want to see me going for a walk around Guildford, and you want to see me probably in front of the skeleton. Right? I need to do that's my advice.
Yeah.
I need to do more.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on. What were you going to say?
Yeah. But no, and just on that, just being unapologetically yourself. I think we did a podcast ages ago about some of our favorite adverts.
Yeah.
And there's one every now and then when someone talks about being unapologetically themselves, one that pops into my head, which is the adverts, which was an actual advert, money put into this campaign for Aviation Gin, and I'm sorry, Hugh Jackman, but I forget the name of your coffee company. And it was Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds sat down on a table, being Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds with this little funny love-hate relationship that they've got. And Ryan Reynolds does this fantastic, incredible talk about Hugh's coffee, about the good work it's doing in whatever country the farm's in, and the tasting notes and everything. And Hugh Jackman literally picks up Ryan's gin, gives it some derogatory marks about it, knocks the bottle over on the table, so it's pouring out, and like they coming in with Hugh thinking that they're going to carry on the battle, and like Ryan Reynolds actually burying had it, but it's unapologetically the both of them. It's like potentially one of the greatest Ryan Reynolds skits, like right up there with everything else that he does. It's phenomenal.
Adverts.
If that had been a boring advert of them standing there following a red presentation, well, this is the best way to market alcohol, this is the best way to market coffee, no one would have cared. Even though it is those two people in there, it would not have done as well.
The one that came to my head when you were saying that. So, do you remember, was it Belvedere Vodka where you got Daniel Craig got out of a car and started dancing, a little bit like Weapon of Choice?
Dancing, yeah.
Like 90% of the advert until like the last scene was vodka. Nothing was it. It was the personality of Daniel Craig, who's played this hard, very stoic version of James Bond for the last 15 years, having a bit of fun and dancing around a hotel.
Dancing around,
right? And that's the thing. It's like personality trumps product, like nearly all the time. I think if you want to look at how to do a niche, look at this. Another great example. I don't even know if this is a great example. It must work because everyone fucking does it. Aftershave and perfume adverts. When was the last time you had an aftershave and perfume advert that made any sense?
Exactly. That's been the case since the 80s.
Man in desert looks stoic at sea. Then woman sings.
Yeah.
Shador.
Yeah.
Right. No point does this make sense. But
yeah,
it obviously works because every single one does it. And I can't now think of an advert that really just talks about the product. And if I do, it's literally bad adverts on QVC.
Yeah. That's the only place. That's the only place you'll find people talking about the product. That's it. There's no one else does.
Do you want Nespresso coffee, or do you want to be George Clooney drinking Nespresso coffee?
Exactly. TV marketing nailed it. Absolutely changed the game. But if you look at marketing strategies for a long time, since like 20s, if not earlier, very, very similar things. Very similar. Like it's always been the same thing. It's not talk about the product. It's how's that product going to make you feel? And that brings it back nicely to like in terms of your niche. You're not just selling a product. You're not just selling a diet plan or training program, whatever. You are selling an end result that goes so much deeper than just how you'd look, just a before and after photo. It is how they feel. And if you can't put yourself in their shoes of how they're going to feel, whether you've been there yourself or whether you've spoke to enough people, had those conversations to learn and fully understand how someone feels in their pain and at the end of their pain, that's probably not the niche for you to be marketing to. And I think you're just going to end up banging your head against the wall when people don't come to you because they can kind of smell disingenuousness, which I don't think is a word, but I'm keeping it. And that ends up putting people off, you know?
I'll leave people with this. If people don't know how to do this, one of the things we teach is normally from a sales call and a like initial session perspective. We teach a framework in SMU called the past, future, present model. I did this in my first session at UP, worked really well. And the reason this came about is because I used to go, right, I need some notes. So I used to write loads of notes in my sales consult. And then like I'm like this. And I had no buy-in with my clients because I'm just looking down at my page all the time. And then I went, put the pen down. I'm gonna get to know you. Right. And then I had no notes. I'm like, I can't write a program. So I came up with this framework where it's like I can just write bullet points. I've got a clear title, I've got a clear objective for each section, and I just write the things I need. When I've achieved it, I move on to the next one. So the past is where you start. People move away from pain more than they move towards pleasure initially, right? So this is where like why are you here? Right? What's the thing that got you in front of me? What is, I look down the shower, can't see a penis. I want to run around my kids. I've got diagnosed with diabetes. What is it? Right? Then you go to the future. And the future is asking not only like, how do you want to look? And this is where most coaches stop, is how do you want to feel? How do you want to behave? How do you want to perform? What habits would you like to have? Because we all know that client that kind of goes, I'd like to be that kind of person that goes for a run in the morning and then doesn't do it because he thinks when he's lean, he'll start, right? Yeah. And then the present is like, why don't you look like that already? Or why don't you feel like that already? Yeah. And I say this, and I'm not going to go into too much detail of it because it's not really relevant. But if you're not sure on how to sell this future goal, or because what you get from being lean might not be what your demographic get from being lean, is get everyone on a call again, set better goals, and do that past, future, present model. You'll get better goals to your clients. You'll re-energize some clients that are just going through the motions of training, and you'll get tons of feedback of what your clients want. Find out what are the average things that they all say, right? Right? Like, guys will probably want slightly different things to girls, right? Guys generally chase, well, modern 2024 women chase status more than ever, but like guys generally want status, right?
Yeah.
I've worked with more guys, but I find that most girls generally want a little bit more certainty. They want to know that we can get this. They want confidence, particularly in themselves. I'm not saying that guys don't want self-confidence, but it's like, if you look at marketing and advertisement, like advertisement to women is more make you feel like the badass you are, and guys of imagine if you sat next to a Lamborghini, what other people would think of you.
Yes.
You don't get many female, you don't get Dove adverts where women are like on a Lamborghini sprawled out and going, you need some moisturizer. Right? And you don't get many Ferrari adverts where it's like where people going, we understand. Don't worry. You can get a Peugeot and we can give a payment plan for the Ferrari. Like so you can say I'm wrong about this all you like, and there obviously will be women that want a Lamborghini and men who want to be looked after.
Yeah.
Marketing leaves clues. So survey your clients, see what the common trends are, and just lean into that stuff in your marketing rather than what they're not. A lot of the marketing I find in fitness space is telling people what they're not doing. Here is why you're still fat, rather than here is why you should want to be lean. Like I say it again, I'm Medical at Mental University. Vince Pitstick, Alan Kress. I see a lot of their marketing. A lot of it's learn the thyroid and learn this sort of stuff, and I'm sold. But I see a lot of the stuff that got me into Alan Kress was, wow, his home gym's good. I'd like that. He puts a picture of his 4 cars up. Vince is always in a fancy suit. He's always in a beach house in Malibu. And I'm like, there's this element here of this subtle marketing of, if I learn about my thyroid, I will also make loads of money, right? That status game is the thing. If you look at, again, I know they're business coaching, that is what they're selling, but if you look at the Elevate boys, you know, Josh Mooney and the Harrison twins, right? Josh is always in a beach house in Spain or looking over a Dubai sunset. Adam Haley, when he was like, even when he was selling R&T, he's walking down a beach talking about the freedom. He's got Dubai in the backdrop, right? He's selling this aspirational goal, right? It should be you or your client at the beach in the dress that they've always wanted to, at the Christmas party looking confident, right? R&T are really good at this. If you look at R&T's marketing, you never get Akash going, this is why you're fat, right? You get Akash saying, let's work back from this end goal. This is how Stacey felt so good in her Christmas dress. This is how Steve has the energy to rock his board meetings. That is, R&T's brilliant because they work back from the desire. So, like, to finish this off, what is your niche? Where do people find you to hear about said niche?
What is my niche? My niche is semi-busy, semi-professional, semi-retarded people like me. That's what it is. If you want to know my niche is men and women over 35 who want to get back the energy, the sex drive that they felt in their 20s. There's people, I target people who notice there's something missing, whether that's haven't had sex in a relationship for 3 years. I've been there. Whether that's they're scared to take their top off at the beach. I've been there. Whether they're scared, this is a buzz phrase that so many people use in their marketing. You get to bang with the lights on, but you've never been in that position yourself. You don't know how shameful that actually feels.
Yeah, shredded, jacked 24-year-old bodybuilder saying that. Like,
yeah,
okay, all right.
This is how you can bang with the lights on. Yes, bruv. Cool. Inspirational as fuck. I love it. But you can find me on Instagram if you want to help me fix my broken Instagram page, which is all angry vegans following me at Fat Loss Fastlane. Or I would prefer it if you helped me, rebuild my Facebook at Fat Loss Fastlane, where I don't have angry vegans. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that my tagline for my niche has always been help coaches beat imposter syndrome by getting better client results. But I think for me, it's if I want to lean into my own advice here, what essentially we do is remove doubt from coaches so they can actually start to love their job again. We allow people to have status, because who does not want to be the coach that kind of goes, let the rise of reaction videos. If you want to be the coach and be able to tear them down with science and knowledge and an understanding, we'll help you do that. And we'll help you get those results where you can't stop looking at your phone because you're so fucking proud of how good they are. That's what we do. And that is at Kingsley Dutton on Instagram or Simon Kingsley Dutton on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, help us get cool guests. And, mate, chat to you next week.
Good stuff.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Made Podcast. If you're like me and like binge watching podcast episodes, click here to watch our latest episode. Or if you want to stay in touch and find out when the next episode goes live, click here to subscribe to the channel.